I'm Anthony from Anthony's Creative Classroom, and I used to have my own stamp line. Closed that about a year and a half or so ago to start focusing on teaching again. We are going to continue tonight with Christmas in July, and if you saw my post on Facebook yesterday, there was 163 days left until Christmas. Yes, I'm counting, and I can't wait till November 1st so I can start putting up Christmas trees. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here and go over some of the stuff we're going to be using tonight. We're going to be using stamps from Desiree Tangles with paper. I met Desiree maybe 5 years ago. Desiree was on my design team, along with a whole lot of other design teams she was on. So I have continued to follow with her, and we have become fast friends and partners in crime, and tonight I am going to share with you some of her stamps. I'm going to show you first some Christmas stamps, and then after we get through what we're going to do and I go through the samples again, I'm going to show you some card samples and some stamp sets that are not holiday inspired so that you can see what else she has to offer us. So I'm going to clear some of this out of the way, and I'm going to be using all kinds of different inks tonight. We're going to do ink smushing and some heat embossing. So let me just clear some of this out of the way, and we will get started. So the first stamp I'm going to show you is the big ornament stamp, and I did make a card with this. I taught with this stamp a few years ago in a class as well, and my interpretation of this stamp is just bright colors, some jewel tones, a little pastels, and what I did with this card is this part down here I stamped twice and I fussy cut out, and I popped it up, and then I stamped again for the middle of the poinsettia and popped it up again. So let me hold this up and click focus so you can kind of see what I did. And it's always so hard for me to do this. So you're looking from the top down. You can see where I popped up some of these areas, but what I did instead of popping the whole thing up is I put liquid glue along the bottoms so everything is kind of up on an angle versus completely popped up. Just another way to use your pop dots. And of course, you know, we have to have bling, and I put where these intersecting points are in this pattern, I put a gem on every single intersecting point. So that's what I did with this stamp. So I'm kind of going backwards today, and I'm showing you what I did with the actual stamps before I start doing some crafting, because I always run out of time to talk about the cards that I've made. This is a A7 card, which is 5x7. I used 80-pound cardstock for my base, stamped in Memento Tuxedo Black, and used alcohol markers to color this. Fussy cut out and used pop dots and liquid glue. And I will explain as I'm doing. If I tilt this, you can kind of see the background is speckled. When I make a card, I'll show you how I did that. So that is stamp number 1. So stamp number 2 is just a fabulous stamp all the way around. And it is called a Tangled Stocking. And what I did with this, again, this was alcohol markers. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So you can see all this detail. And I know these are not ornaments. They're called orbs. See, I do remember some of the Zentangle names. So these are orbs, but I colored them as ornaments in the top of my stocking. And I tried to do 3 of each color just because we do things in threes. I used a couple different shades of red and a couple different shades of green. And on all of the centers of the swirls, I put a gem, and I use different size gems based on the size of the swirl. And along these stripes, I put a gem on all these black points in the stamp. And the style of the greetings in these sets is phenomenal. I've never seen this style lettering and fonts in another stamp set. So what I did with this is you can see where there's some different shading in my colors, and it's just because of the way I applied the marker, and I will show you that. I get lights and darks with the way I color with the markers. I don't use alcohol markers the way most people do. I use them just like if I'm going to color with a package of Crayola crayons. I just like the finish of the smoothness and the highs and lows I can get without really working, and I let the marker do the work for me. So the next card is a stamp out of this set, and this is called Tangled Ornaments. And I took this stamp right here and I stamped it twice, and this darker green part on here I fussy cut out and I popped up. And again on this card you can see the highs and lows in my shading, and I will show you how I did that. Like I said, it's very easy for me to just let the markers do what it's going to do. And I used this long stylized branch on my perimeter of my card and just stamped it 4 times to put a border on my plain paper so that I did not have to use printed paper. So that's how I did the border of this. The other cards we're going to make tonight, I'm going to use the ornaments from this set. They're smaller and it's easier for me to color them faster. So I am going to show you how I made this particular card with this ornament, and I'm going to show you something else with this ornament right here. What's fun about this set is the ornament hook is a separate image. On the big ornament, the hook is attached. So if you're doing the big ornament and you don't want that part, just mask that off with a post-it note when you're applying ink to your stamp, and then you won't get ink on that. So that's what I did with that. Those are the cards that I made ahead of time, and we'll visit those again. But I just wanted to show you what I did with these stamps to begin with. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to first do a background, and I am using Canson XL watercolor paper. I'm going to take a couple of Distress Oxide pads. I'm using Fired Brick and Mowed Lawn, and I am going to just rub some ink on my mat over here, and I'm going to spray it with some water, and I'm going to just press this paper into that ink. And I'm going to give it a quick heat, and sorry for the noise. And it doesn't have to be completely dry, but I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this ink just to get some speckles in it. So, and I wiped ink off right there, so we're going to get some more ink back in that spot right there a little bit. Going to give this another quick dry. And And it doesn't need to be completely dry. And I am going to wipe this ink off so that I can change colors. And I'm going to go into the fired brick. And I'm going to mist that. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that onto my paper and give that a quick dry. So ink smushing is just a great way to make a quick background. I'm going to pick up some spots and some speckles here. So I'm just going to push back into that ink real quick. And I want to get some right in here. I'm going to add just a little bit more ink and a little bit of water just so I can get this one light spot right here. There. So I'm done with that, so we're going to wipe that all off. And let me give this a quick little dry. So I'm going to stamp with black VersaFine Clair. And let me grab my stamp positioner here real quick. And the stamp. So get some magnets down. Put this bigger ornament down here at the bottom, and I'm going to put this ornament near the top. And we're going to pick those up, and I am going to stamp with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Okay, so I'm going to ink those one more time because I want that to be a little bit darker. And I can use the VersaFine on top of the Distress Oxide inks once I know I'm done wetting them. And these inks will be permanent when they're dry as well. So I don't always grab my archival ink, so that because just the nature of the ink. And while I have this stamp positioner out, I'm going to stamp once on regular cardstock as well. Wipe this stamp off real quick. Before I put it onto my regular cardstock. And this time I'm going to stamp with Memento because I want to use my alcohol markers. And this is going to be fun because I just re-inked this pad last night, so I don't know what I'm going to end up with. I kind of gave it a really good soaking. Oh yeah, that's good. I have like 10 tuxedo black ink pads and every single one of them was dry. So we're going to stamp that. So give that one more shot. Just a little bit darker. Okay. So I will just wipe this off. I typically clean my stamps once I'm done with a project and don't clean them all the time. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to zoom in. I think I'm going to lose the glass mat now. I'm done heating things. Come back in here, and I'm going to zoom in again. And I'm going to do a little bit of coloring with some alcohol markers. And I'm going to just do this with a couple shades of green. So I'm just going to quick color. The stamp. And because the ink is dry, I can go right over the black and not worry about anything else. Okay, so I have the lighter green there. I'm going to grab the darker green and go over these little striped areas. And I am going to take my yellowish gold color and I am going to color this edge. Right here. And I'm going to come one layer on the outside of it because I didn't stay in the lines. Okay, so what I want to do with the rest of it is I'm going to come in with my pink because Christmas doesn't always have to be red and green. We're going to add some pink right onto this. Okay, and I'm going to put some pink over this gold just to change that color a little bit. It's just a little too much for me. And I'm going to give it one more layer of the pink. The one nice thing about alcohol markers, the extra layers you put on there, the darker they get. So, okay, so I want to do one thing to this ornament. And I'm going to grab a Versamark pad and I'm going to drag, see how this looks a little flat and a little blotchy? I'm going to add a little bit more, try and even out this layer. Some days I'm not the best colorist. So I am going to take my Versamark pad and I'm going to tap all over the top of this. And I want to tap, I don't want to rub. And then I'm going to grab my clear embossing powder I hope this is clear and not white because the box isn't labeled. I think it's clear. And I'm going to go over that. I'm going to give it a quick heat, so sorry about the noise again. Okay, so see how that intensified the color? See how the color just woke right up from that, adding the clear powder? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer of Versamark. And now that I've got one layer down, I can twist and build up my ink. And I'm going to emboss this one more time. Okay, so what I've done, I'm going to let this cool for a second, is I've put a plastic coating on my ornament, and if I move it in the light, you can see the shine on it. So that's 2 layers, and I am on the regular cardstock. If I do a 3rd layer of that on here, this is going to get as thick as a credit card. So then you can fussy cut this out, punch a hole in it. But what I would do before I fussy cut it out is I would attach it to another layer. Let's do that real quick. Let me grab a piece of holographic paper. Sometimes I craft on the fly, so sorry about that. I'm going to grab some 4-inch wide score tape. And I'm going to put this down on here so that I have adhesive on the whole thing. I have embossing powder everywhere. So I've got that stuck right there. Okay? Ready with me so far? So now I'm going to take and peel off the backing of the score tape. I hope. Hold on. Cut this off on an end. I'm going to cut all this extra tape off because I don't need that anyway. So I'm going to peel that off, and I'm going to stick it to the back of this piece of paper and press that down. And now I'm going to fussy cut this out real quick. So I'm going to get rid of all this extra. And we're going to trim this around. The colors do wake up once they are hit with that Versamark and that clear powder. And we're going to cut around this ornament hook up here, the loop for the hook. Okay. Grab a hole punch and punch out the spot right here. And I'm going to grab some cord real quick. And feed that through. I can put some gems on these dots, and then I have a cute little ornament, and I did holographic paper on the back. You can also put regular paper on the back and do to and from on the back and use it as a tag for a package. So there's another way to use your stamp. And I just made a little tag for a package. Or if you have a little tree in your craft room, you can do this with a bunch of your stamps and make some ornaments for a little tree in your room. So that's one way to use that stamp. So we're just going to finish this off real quick. And I'm going to throw a couple of gems on here, just so I don't leave you with an unfinished thing. Where'd the gem go? Sorry if I seem a little frazzled tonight, everybody. I've just been fighting with this computer for a day. So we're just going to put some gems on here and call it a day. Okay. Yeah, bling is always good. So I'm going to add a couple gold ones on here because I used the gold cord. And a couple green. This one. And get one more. Get one more over here. So there, you can just take that and make a quick little tag with some gems on it, and the Versamark and the clear powder works great if you're using colored pencils, alcohol markers, Tombow markers, whatever you're using. It can be great. But what I want to do with this card is I'm going to grab a white gel pen and I'm going to do some highlighting. On my stamped image. And I'm just using a number 10 Jelly Roll gel pen for this, for the white. You could use a gold, you could use a silver. I'm just using the white because that's what I have. And I just want to show you how to add some highlights to these stamps, where Desiree has left you room to add some highlights. I don't know if she's on with us yet tonight or not. Her work schedule kind of gets in her way. So, and I'm going to take on these lines. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take these lines that are in this area here, and I'm going to add some highlights to that as well. So we don't always have to add color on top of our images to highlight them. I guess white is a color, but this way we're just doing some subtle highlights and not trying to add extra color, especially since we've stamped on this ink smooshed paper. Okay, so let me add a couple more lines to this one. And get that right there. Right there. So there's a little bit of highlighting onto this. And I'm going to also do around the little dots here. And if there's the little dot in the middle of it here, put a little bit on that as well. So there I've kind of dressed up that image a little bit. But what I do want to do to this as well is I'm going to take a gold alcohol marker and I'm going to do this part right here where the ornament would hang. I'm going to do that to both of these. And this one down here, I'm going to add alcohol ink on top of the distress ink. And I can do that and not reactivate the ink because the ink is already dry. If I had not dried the distress ink on this watercolor paper, I would be creating a big old mess. But I want to add just some little bit of shading onto this ornament, and I'm going to use this alcohol marker because I want some dark shading versus the white. And I'm going to add a little bit more of the gold onto, actually no, I'm not going to mess that ornament up. I like it just how it is. But you can see where the gold is showing up on here. The color is still showing through a little bit. And I'm going to just put where these little, I know all these little tangles have little dot names, but I'm just going to add some gold into these. I call them bubbles. I know I'm going to get nailed by my Zentangle friends for not knowing all the names, but that's how I'm rolling tonight. So if anybody's on, you can tell me what, you can tell everybody what these are just called. So what else do I want to add to this? I'm going to grab my craft mat and I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer to it. And give that a quick dry. Okay, and you can see we had an extra little bit of magic happen there where this shimmer went. It did reactivate the liquid in it did reactivate the distress, and I got some more speckles and some more blending of my ink. Zoom out one so you can see that a little bit better. So, and because I don't do Zentangle, but I want to fill these outsides in just a little bit, I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to fill in a little bit and draw some lines from the stamps to the corner like this, just to fill this in a little bit. And if you remember my background from my stamp line, I did this with my faux string art stamps, where I would fill in the background. And it's just giving me a little bit of extra interest into that blank space. So it's just filling that in just a little bit more to add a little bit more interest to that background. You don't have to like the string art or embrace the string art stamps from the past to just add some extra little detail into your lines. Now, if you're a Zentangle person, you could come back in and then add some extra Zentangles into these lines. And I'm not even going to mess with that because I know I will make a big old disaster. But I am going to do one thing. It's called an aura. And I'm just going to come like this around the outside of my ornament. So somebody from Zentangle should be very proud of me for that. So there, I just added a little bit of extra dimension to that, and you could add more to it. So I'm just telling you what you can do with it. I'm not the Zentangle artist, so I can't teach it. I can just tell you I loved it when it's finished. We're going to move on, and I'm going to show you how I made this particular card. And let me grab that stamp. And I'm going to put this in here. Oh, wrong stamp. No, that is the right stamp. And I'm going to put my stamp in here. I'm going to pick it up, and we're going to stamp it with Memento ink. One, and one more. And I am stamping on 80-pound Cougar cardstock, and it's typically the only white cardstock I use, and I use it for everything. Alcohol inks, like my Copic markers. I'll use Tombow markers on it, distress ink. I don't have a big arsenal of a lot of different types of cardstock that I use. So I'm going to take this image and I'm going to color this one. And I started out with my greens and my red. These are the three colors I used: a shade of red and 2 shades of green, a light and a dark. And I'm going to start coloring the flux. See, I know it's got a name. Okay, so the way I get my shading in here is I will take my stamp, ink on my fingers, but that's okay. And I'll do an outline, and then I'll come in and just do some streaks on it. And as it dries, I get the light in the dark. So you can see as this is drying, I'm getting the shading without having to come back and use a blender. I'm not using a really heavy touch either. And I always have to remember that I'm doing a live when I'm coloring, because I will get in my color mode and just forget. So, okay, so you can see where I've got this light and dark, and it's not that I did a whole lot of coming back and shading and using a blender to take color out. And whoever decided that a blender and an alcohol marker is a blender, it's not. It's an eraser. So just remember that as you're trying to do things, that you're going to end up erasing things versus blending things. I missed one that I wanted to be darker. So now the rest of these, I'm going to come in with my light green and catch all of those. So these stamps are very easy to color. The way they're designed, that if you're a colorer, you can color them. If you just want to do backgrounds, you can do like this. Okay, I think I got all those. So now where all my little bubbles are, because I don't know the right term, somebody wants to tell me what the term is, I'm going to come in with my gold and just catch all of that. And I'm also going to get the top of my ornament with the gold while I have it in my hand. I missed one of these. So there's all of that. And this little spot here, I'm going to hit with a little bit of red because I think it's the ornament coming out. And I'm going to color the rest of the ornament with the red. Orbs, thank you. I knew somebody would correct me on the term bubbles. And again, I like to use these markers just like I'm going to use anything else, because I don't need to worry about all the shading. So that's how fast it is to color that ornament. 4 markers, and I'm done. So what I did with this other one is I just colored in here. When I colored with the dark green here, I colored here. I fussy cut it out and popped it up. So I'm not going to do that for you today because you don't need to watch me cut this out. So now I am going to show you how I did. Let me tilt this so you can see it better. You can see the speckling that's in the background. The other thing I did was I took my pokey tool and I poked a hole in here, and I took some of this gold cord and fed it through the hole and wrapped it around the back instead of using the ornament hook that came with the set. So that's what I did here. I just put a few layers of this through the hole and wrapped it around the back. So the other thing I did to this is where all the little gold spots are, I used Nuvo Dream Drops, and on these ends of all these little lines I put a dot of the holly stickles, and I will do that, but I want to show you how I did this background. And I did this background with a VersaFine Claret ink pad. The color is Shady Lane because it's pretty close to the green that I have in here. I'll grab a piece of scrap paper to put under this. And I have this little texture brush. I will put in the link where you can buy these. You might have them already, or you can get them in. Sometimes the little craft stores will have them. Most of the time it's an orange sponge, but I will link where you can buy these. And I tapped in here into my ink pad. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Tapped in my ink pad, and then I just tapped around to add some texture. So it was that quick to fill in my background, so I didn't have to get an embossing folder or something else out to add a background onto that white piece of paper. Now what I can do, I can add extra colors, and I'm going to grab a red ink pad. And I'm going to add some red on top of the green. So to clean this off, I'm just going to take and go like this and twist on my scrap paper, because I'm going to end up with a lot of the green in the middle. So I'm going to come into the red, and I can just tap the red and add some red to the back too. And then it actually takes on a look of almost like stone in the background. So there's the red and the green to make the background just with an ink pad and this little texture brush. So let me clear some of this out, and we'll go over again the cards that I made tonight, and then I'll show you a couple other ones that were made with a couple other of Desiree stamp sets. So again, this card was made with Tangled Ornaments, and that's also what I used for this card and the little tag we made tonight. Okay, so that's that stamp set. The stocking, which is like my ultimate favorite, was the stamp set is called a Tangled Stocking, and it's just an awesome stamp. Let me hold this up closer, hit focus real quick. I mean, I don't even have words other than phenomenal and stunning for this card. This stamp just gives you so much room to be creative. And this stamp, the greeting, Holly Jolly, came out of the set. So that's the stocking. And then we have a Tangled ornament, which I put gems on all the intersecting points here and did multiple layers on this one. This stamp set is called a Tangled Jewel. Let me zoom out. Let me pull it out of the plastic just so it's easier to see. This is called a Tangled Jewel, and as soon as I saw this stamp, my brain went right to bumblebees with these little circles here with the lines through them. So this is a card that I made with this stamp set. I mean, and I found some Jolie stickers, gems of that are actually bumblebees. Zoom in. So this is actually a Jolie sticker, and it worked perfect with this card. You know, this could have done in yellow as well to be reminiscent of the bee versus the orbs. So that's this stamp set, and again, this is called a Tangled Jewel. This stamp set is called a Tangled Floral Box. And as soon as I saw this one, I saw this and I thought of tulips. I mean, to me, I saw tulips right away. And it's nice because Desiree will include quotes from people and list the name of who said the comment. So this one I used alcohol markers on, and then the center panel I popped up. And I just thought the pink and the yellow with a little bit of orange was pretty good for these flowers. You could do a border, you could make a bookmark. Just there's so many ways to use these stamps, and if you look at her website as well, you'll get a whole lot more. But my favorite one I've done, other than the Christmas, this is called a Tangled Star, and it's just a phenomenal stamp. It's not really on. Let me pull the stamp off the paper because I didn't get the stamp lined up onto the acetate, so you can get a really clear image of that stamp. So that's the star, and this is the card I made with it, with colored pencils. And what I did with this, I did light to dark in the center, and then I did light to dark back to the center. So I had the shading going opposite directions in this card. And like I said, this was colored pencil. The cards that we did today, I verified all those stamped Christmas stamps are still available. So these are some of the cards that I've made with the stamps from Desiree at Include a Thankyou. And her website is includeathankyou.com. And I encourage you to follow her on Facebook and Instagram. Her Facebook group and everything I will put in the link. Next week, we probably will conclude Christmas in July, and I'm not sure yet what we're going to do. So I look forward to seeing you, and I appreciate everybody spending some time with me. And I will see you all again next week. And enjoy your week. And there's 162 days till Christmas. So thanks, everyone. Love you lots. Have a good night.